It's another interesting episode of Labor Lens where we bring to you update information in the world of work and pay. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's episode of the program, we will be discussing about civil service in Nigeria. But first, let's take the news. We will be right back.
State governors want organized labor to agree to a downsizing of the workforce all over the country or a review of the national revenue allocation formula if they are to pay 30,000 naira as minimum wage. After a meeting in Abuja, the Governors Forum resolved to set up a new committee to meet with President Muhammadu Buhari to resolve issues that may arise from the proposed 30,000 naira minimum wage. Chairman of the forum, Abdulaziz Yari, describes Labour's insistence on the amount as impracticable. He says decisions should be solely on the ability of states to pay.
A situation whereby our report is not taken or considered by the committee to present it before the president, then I don't know how the committee wants us to work. And we still say we want to pay, but the issue is ability to pay. But if you say no, it's not about ability to pay, just pay. When the president came in, about 27 states are not paying, cannot pay. Not they choose not to pay, but they cannot pay. So now you say 30,000, how many states will be bankrupt? So we need as Nigerians to look at this seriously. We are going to continue talking with the authorities. There's federal government, labor. Let them see reason why governors have difficulties.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress and other labour centres in the country reacted to the statement credited to the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Abdulaziz Yari. According to the NLC president, the new national minimum wage of 30,000 naira was a product of intense and robust negotiations. They also said that the 1999 constitution recognizes individual states in the collective bargaining process, not Nigeria Governors Forum. The Labour Centres urged President Muhammadu Buhari to expedite the presentation of the new national minimum wage bill to the National Assembly for appropriate amendment and implementation. Here is a graphical representation of the suggested figures proposed by different states.
After the report has been submitted, after everything has been completed, I think it's just to divert our attention. And I'm sure that we have very many of them that are pro-workers, that are also championing the cause of workers, and they have agreed to go and pay. Let not the few try to divert our attention. Our attention will not be diverted. NLC remain very committed and resolute in pursuing this legitimate demand, which is due since 2016, and therefore will put every machinery in place to engage any governor that will want to use the avenue of either disengagement or the avenue of lack of ability to pay to address the issue. We have said there is resources. If we are able to reduce the high cost of governance, including the humongous security vote, including paying a lot of aids, then we will have a lot of money to actually pay the workers.
It's the 2018 National Executive Council meeting where workers of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria are to discuss national issues and their effect on public service. As the meeting proceeds, the president of the association, who is also the leader of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, points out the delay in payment of pensions and gratuity to retirees, something it says has led to many deaths.
The obstacles faced by retirees in respect of not getting their entitlements on time and regular monthly pension are still subsisting. In fact, cases of officers who retire from the public service but have not been paid their initial lump sum, let alone their monthly pension stipends, 2 years after exiting from service, abound. It is indeed worrisome that patriotic citizens who have served their fatherland meritoriously for 35 years or attained the retirement age of 60 years while in service cannot be paid their entitlement to enable them to keep body and soul together, let alone support their dependents. It must be emphasized that if this trend of subjecting retirees to untold hardship continue, the union will be compelled to begin to consider other trade union actions to seek redress.
Workers read and adopt minutes of last year's National Executive Council meeting, after which the Secretary General of the association reacts to the issue of illegal appointment and extension of tenure of permanent secretaries. The Federal Capital Territory Minister, represented by Chinyeka Oha, urged the union to ensure productivity in public service.
As we stand on the threshold of a major wage review, perhaps now offers us a great opportunity to consider issues bordering on the productivity level of the public service. I would like to urge us to also consider ways we could inspire a revolution in performance level of our personnel. As we prepare to receive more, we should also prepare to give more. To whom more is given, more is expected.
The members of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria appeals to the federal government to fast-track the process of enacting the new national minimum wage of 30,000 naira into law.
The civil servant all the while, from his build, from his structure, has been so done to conform with the dictates of the government of the day. 2019 election or no 2019 election, the civil service will always deliver on its mandate as the engine room of government, and to the extent that when it's involved on election issues, the civil service has proved over time to ensure that its neutrality is maintained.
The civil service has not fared well. When we look at the structure, when we look at the operation that will lead to the productivity, it has not fared well. But as God will have it, Nigeria is blessed with a set of workers that through improvisation they try their best to improve their productivity. But if it is what is available, tools, environment, whether conducive or not, the civil service is a bit down.
The civil service is the engine room of government. And as the engine room of government at any point in time, we believe that once it is adequately serviced, it will always give the desired result that will produce the government. We believe one of the greatest challenges I come across in the system is the weakness of our institution. And I believe that we need to collectively build institutions that can be able to sustain the policies of government that will be good for all as sundry. The workers has worked to create the wealth that is used to service every sector of the economy. And I believe at any point in time, the desired priority should be given to them in the affairs of the country.
Government should see civil servants as partners in progress. Government should see civil servants as the pivot on which government rotates, on which every government policy is implemented, and because of that, design, grant them their benefit without them fighting for it. Ensure that policies are targeted towards bettering the life of the civil servant, and also policies that will improve the service. And withdraw politics, identify the political administrative dichotomy. Government should be able to identify where it is administration and where it's politics. the issue of administration, the issue of civil service should not be mixed up with politics. Politicizing civil service is not good for this country.
On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the President and the Secretary General of Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria. They will be telling me the several challenges that the civil service is faced with and probably prefer solutions to them. Join me. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
It was an interesting NEC meeting, if I must say, and a lot of issues were actually discussed at this event. And for you, I would like to ask you what particular issue is so dear to the union to ensure that workers do have a better welfare in the civil service?
Yeah, all the issues are very dear to our heart, to my heart. But if you want me to do a kind of ranking, it's the issue of wage review, which is tied to the issue of the recently concluded negotiation on the national minimum wage. As you observed at the NEC meeting, we've presented a position paper to government. They've responded. They want a harmonized paper to be presented by all the unions in the public service, which we are manning the Secretariat of the Joint Council. So we've almost finished work on the memo. We'll return it to the head of the Civil Service of the Federation very shortly. And we believe that as soon as we submit it, they will call us for discussions, negotiations, so that we can have a new salary regime for the service.
Talking about the civil service now, during the NEC meeting, there was a motion raised as regards illegal appointment and extension of stay for permanent secretaries. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, as far as we are concerned, permanent secretaries are supposed to be career officers. It's a career position. And if it's a career position, we expect that whoever is going to be appointed will be from the service. That is what the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says, but some people are twisting it. And it happened in Edo State. One retired Major General was brought in as permanent secretary. They equally went to bring one outsider, which we challenged in court. We are still in court. It happened in Bayelsa. We challenged it in court. We are still in court. At the federal level, we've never had it until recently, when somebody was brought in from outside the service and we fought it and he left, only for us to know that we still have another person who was brought in from the private sector. Not only that, when he was brought in, he was even above 60 years of age. And as we speak, he's over 62 years. So we are battling that, and we want to believe that in the next couple of weeks, we should be done with that. And we are equally battling the issue of extension of tenure, illegal extension of tenure. In the civil service, the public service rule is very clear. It is either you are 60 years of age or you have spent 35 years in service. So no matter how good you are, once you have reached that bar, you should leave the service so that others can grow. And our take is that if the federal government believes that some of these people are indispensable, there are so many positions they can give them within the ambit of their own political arrangement. Senior special assistant, junior special assistant, advisor, and junior advisor, intermediate, and nurse, and so on and so on. So the service is not a job for the boys. It's a career thing. The extant rules are very clear. So, and once you reach the terminal area, you should leave and allow others to come. Otherwise, we'll be having challenges that the service will not be okay for it.
So moving forward, I would like you to share with us what your union's position is on as regards delay in pension for workers who have worked as much as 30, 35 years after retiring, they leave the service without a dime.
Thank you very much. You know, when this contributory pension scheme was coming on board, the position is that they were doing away with the pay-as-you-earn arrangement which we had before, because people are not being paid as and when due. So when this one came on board, we thought, okay, we are there. But unfortunately, in the last couple of months, going to about 2.5 years, the counterpart funding the federal government was supposed to be paying, that is, you say 7.5% for workers, 7.5% for them before the amendment, to 8% for workers, 10% for federal government. So their own counterpart funding in the last 2.5 years, they have not been paying it. So these guys that are now retiring in the last 2.5 years, you know, they've been in service before they coming on board of the new pension scheme. That's before 2004. So what their entitlement was supposed to be under the old arrangement, federal government said they were bonding it, which means they are holding the money. So that by paying their own as and when due and this bonded aspect of the money, so that when you are leaving, your money is intact. So now that some of them have started leaving now, and the federal government is owing, so it is only the contributing aspect, that is the one they contributed to a state that is available, you know. So meaning that you can't pay them half while the other half is hanging somewhere. So we have a problem. So what we are now saying is that pending the time the federal government will redeem whatever is due to this crop of officers, since you have about 8.3 trillion naira resting somewhere and people are feeding fat on it, why don't you hold brief pending the time the federal government will pay its own counterpart funding? But some of them are arguing that if they continue to do it like that, then the federal government will go to sleep. But that is not the case. The point is people are suffering and people are dying. Most of our members, in fact, when you see some of them, you pity this system. You have worked for 30, 35 years, you are over 60 years of age. What you are supposed to be paid, you are not being paid. Some have gone out borrowing. And at the end of the day, to repay the loan service, and problems keep on mounting. And we've recorded a lot of debts, particularly in the last 6 months. And it's so pathetic. And we are seizing this opportunity to appeal to the federal government to do the needful so that all these people that have retired, they have paid their entitlement, they've worked for it. They are not begging for it. They are not begging for it. So they should pay them, and let's move on. So on the auspices of the Joint Council, Trade Union side, we have initiated a meeting with PENCOM where all these ideas which we have in terms of seeing how we can do something, thinking outside the box to pay these people, and let's see how we mount pressure on government to ensure that they pay their own counterpart funding and the system can stabilize. So that's where we are for now.
It's good to have you on the program.
My pleasure, Sharon.
A lot has been happening since our last interaction, and we just had the Association of Senior Civil Servants NEC meeting. Can you tell us what your union's position is when it comes to the state of the nation, be it good governance and the likes?
Well, our NEC, the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, meets once every year to x-ray and review activities of the union and the nation at large vis-a-vis the living conditions of Nigerians and members of the association in particular.
Okay, looking at some of the issues that was itemized during the NEC meeting which just concluded, there is this issue of delay of payment of pensions for retirees. Can you tell me what the true situation is? From what your members said, we have so many state governments that are owing retirees as much as 100-month pensions. What's your take on this? Is this acceptable?
Yeah, it's very, very unacceptable. That is why we are calling for these issues of good governance, accountability, and we are heavily supporting the fight against corruption. The issue of non-payment of pension, from the federal government perspective, before I even go to the state, comes from the non-remittance of the accrued rights by the employers. You have the RSA, that is the retirement savings account of an employee, not funded. he will deduct his own portion of 7.5%, remit into the account. Then you, the employer, will not remit your own. So when the employee is exiting from the service, PENCOM cannot pay him his accrued rights.
So are you saying that this is also typical in civil service?
Yes, so the states are worse. States that have started the contributory pension scheme are not really doing well. They are worse off because none of them are up to, very few of them are up to date in terms of paying the employee contributions and the employer contribution. And those that are still practicing the pay-as-you-go, that is the old system, you have arrears of years not paid.
So how would you describe a situation whereby a worker has worked for more than 30, 35 years and the person is left to retire or leave service without a dime? How do you describe this?
That is case of corruption, monumental corruption. That is why we always call on people, particularly state governors, that the act of governance is not for the weak. It's not for people who are not prepared. You should be prepared. Know what you are going into. Know that it's not all about the fanfare associated, with the office. It's not all about the protocols. It's not all about the luxury you enjoy. It's about work, 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 work. So if you are not prepared to work, you cannot deliver service. So you must work on improving on your IGR. You must work on providing infrastructure. You must work on providing jobs for the jobless. You must work to encourage the aged. You must work to encourage the women and the girl child in the society. And if you are not prepared for this, come on, you just throw in the towel and go and relax at the background.
So can you tell me how far your union has been able to fight the issue of the extension of permanent secretaries, which has been a continuous trend in recent times?
Yeah, it's a continuous trend. It's a continuous trend in the sense that we've succeeded in part of the battle. There are some that are still subsisting. We want to have a stop at people being brought from outside the service, people who are above 60 years, in the name of permanent secretaries. Permanent secretaries should be people, seasoned technocrats, director of the rank of directors, who know what the governance, what the act of governance is all about. Otherwise, appoint a permanent secretary who does not know government. It will take time before he learns the act.
So can you
and that level of position does not require any form of tutelage.
So can you tell me, with your experience in the service, what implications are there for a situation where you have such persons occupying seats in the service?
Well, the consequences are very, very obvious. You have retardation in terms of development. You have case where somebody cannot even represent you well in a function. If the minister, for instance, cannot be in a function, a permanent secretary cannot represent him well. A permanent secretary that is supposed to be a technocrat cannot go and talk on technical issues, except probably prepared speeches are made for them. We love to see permanent secretaries who really understand, who are grounded in the act of governance. And you cannot be grounded in the act of governance if you just came into the service midstream and then you are promoted suddenly, or you are appointed from outside the service and you are given the position of permanent secretary. As permanent secretary, the minister is supposed to rely heavily on your professional and technical advice. And if you don't have that, you are saying, what do you advise the minister?
So what's your take about state governments who are yet to comply with payment of salaries as at when due? And how would you juxtapose this with the issue of new minimum wage?
Well, states that are not paying salaries are states that are deliberately not paying salaries. And not that they don't have the resources to pay. And again, it is another case of lack of political will. You are supposed to raise your internally generated revenue. In fact, to some of us, we expect that state governors should work so hard to ensure that their internally generated revenue pay their salary, so that whatever comes from the federation account goes into projects.
So finally, can you tell us what your members should be expecting as regards ensuring that we have a civil service that is proactive and also actually is concerned with the welfare of workers?
Well, that is our dream, and that is why at every forum, particularly at the national level, we have these national councils 1, 2, and 3. We have national joint councils, and we have at the Federal Ministry of Labor where we have stakeholder tripartite party engagements, where we have robust social dialogue among ourselves to galvanize the working class, to ensure that we really have value for the money we collect. We ensure that we encourage our members to really work hard, be dedicated to their workplaces. We encourage our members to really get themselves detached from the corrupt politicians. We encourage our members to make sure that we only encourage those vices or those identities that we are known for that are good, and avoid those vices that will hamper our integrity or a kind of tarnish our integrity.
It was a pleasure discussing with you.
My pleasure, too.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.